Yo, what's up, everyone? This week on Barely Living the Dream, I sit down with my good buddy Ken Whiting. You may know him he was the director of photography on Mystery Spot, that movie right there. And I've actually worked with him on a few other things. But today we talk about his directorial debut, Rich Interior Lives, which actually premiered or played with In Betweening at Amazing Fantasy Fest 2 years ago. It was the year after Mystery Spot played, actually. So, yeah, and that was my first time seeing it. I knew he was working on something. I knew broad strokes. But yeah, watching that movie with the crowd, it was the best. Watching or being privy to people's reactions, my own reactions to the film, having seen it the first time. It's a wild ride. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to give too much away, because I think that's a lot of the fun of the movie. So it's available on Tubi right now. So I would say go check that out first. Don't look at the description because the description gives too much away. Go check it out. Come back and watch our interview. Yeah, and hear what Ken has to say about the background of making his film. And there's butterscotch in my chair right there. All right. Enjoy Ken Whiting on this episode of Barely Living the Dream. What I do with all these, and I think I know a little bit of this actually, but not all of it. Just we always start off with like the origin story, like how you sort of got started doing movie stuff.
Sweet.
Because I remember I met you as a gaffer.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So by the time we met, I had already had a couple iterations of my career, I guess. I started in still photography initially. And I always felt that stills were the value of visual language.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's the picture's worth 1,000 words, but when you grow up in skate culture, video is kind of an undervalued side of things.
Right.
It's how you see the whole trick, but how does that trick come to life in the moment that gets captured, especially in the 90s, growing up on skate magazines?
Yeah.
You know, you have this other thing. Well, skate video started at the same time, and I was always just kind of like not shitting down on it, but honestly, I think it was a jealousy of my youthfulness that didn't have opportunities like that. The reason a camera went into my hands was I broke 8 bones at the same time, and all of a sudden I was now shooting, and I was the shooter of the team. And so, you know, film, video, it always felt a little more unattainable. And I was working as a still photographer, and my whole family was just like, you know, comes from blue collar. They're like, what's the real thing you're going to do though? Like, you're going to go to college. You're going to be one of the first ones to go to college. You know, you're going to get a degree. You're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do all that, but I'm always going to be a storyteller. So I was working with, I worked with a few nonprofits, and I started a nonprofit where we were teaching at-risk youth photography and music on the streets. And that's what brought me to LA. Was this little thing had some momentum. And next thing I know, on a friend's shoot doing behind the scenes, we've all seen it when crew gets angry and walks off, but I had yet to experience that. And I had yet to experience it with someone like a DP just walking away.
Right.
So his camera team looked at him and said, "We're out. We support that guy." And the producers turned around and go, "You know how to run one of these?" I was like, "Yeah, it's a red one. I used to do fashion photography with those. It can't be that hard."
Yeah.
After the next 6 weeks of being on this web series, and probably 58-year-old gaffer at the time just ridiculed me the whole way, because I was used to much simpler lighting, much more basic lighting. But I always valued, I think where I put my most pride in myself was in lighting. So being judged by that guy, eventually put me on a path to run into you, Mel. I wouldn't have, and so many people go into film, and you want the position that, does the most. I mean, I'm going to say it directly. We all want to be the director, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody that wants to clean the trash up. There's nobody that wants to do these other things. But once you fall in love with film, I think that's the cool part of exploring the craft. I will never say that I didn't want to be a gaffer. I will never say that I didn't want to be a fifth hammer on a feature. Those jobs aligned me to be the best DP I could be. What I didn't expect was how much those jobs would align me to be the best director I could be. So my career really came out of being given an opportunity to step out of photography. I was always a shitty musician. I was always playing with buddies and never wanting to give it the time they wanted to give it.
Right.
I just wanted to be around my friends and making art.
Yeah.
And was just good enough to jam with some of them for a little while. And so film was, hey, you know what you're good at? You can actually jam with other people now. And I've never lost sight of that. It's always felt like big band for me. It's always felt like everyone gets their chance. And everyone is contributing so massively to what we're doing that it's felt sometimes even when it can't be seen or heard.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool because that's sort of that jives with a lot of the way I look at it too. Because that my background's similar, you know. Although I was the guy that always like we should spend more time at this, and nobody else wanted to. So by the time we met on Wicked Trick, I always mess up the titles because I
Right.
never remember what the title was we got familiar with, and then what the title was it came out under. But you know,
Yeah.
so by the time we met on Wicked Tricks, which is what it shot as,
Yep.
how long had you been a gaffer?
I'd been gaffing for about 4 years, probably in the industry for 6 to 7 at that point. The first 2 years, I kind of took off the books at some point. Was like,
Yeah,
I was doing jobs for free. I was doing jobs for $50 a day. I remember coming home and being like, I need this one pretty image today, as a DP,
yeah,
and being like, that was the one. And it's like, yeah, every one of them should have been that good though. I made one that day that I was proud of. So I shot for about 2 to 2.5 years, and then I started making my way into G&E. And I was gaffing for within the first year and a half, which is not how I would recommend it. Anyone listening right now that has aspirations to be a gaffer, be a juicer, be an electrician for a while, just
yeah,
learn all of that. Um, However, for me, it was a good accidental part of my path
mhm,
because it allowed me the opportunity to work directly with the DP and kind of get ahead of where they were. And I think that's one of the things I became known for in, especially in G&E side of things, was once I knew reference image, what you wanted and what kind of contrast ratios you were going for, I was just building, and I
yeah,
was waiting until you said, yep, love it, don't love it, move on, we'll do this. Um, and I think I did all that in pursuit of just trying to make myself better. And so
yeah,
again, I would do it differently now if I knew that, but again, it worked out in my visual language.
yeah, for sure, for sure. What at what point during that journey did you realize, oh, I want to I want to direct, or that's the end game?
So we met, in Wicked Tricks. I was a couple years into my career, and I was really focused on trying to be union, trying to make gaffing the day job so that I could shoot what I wanted. For a period of time, like while I was doing gaffing and I was coming back to cinematography, there was a period of time where I considered myself only a black and white DP. And the reason I did it was I was telling my friends and peers, like, to know this the way I want to know it,
Mhm.
none of you are going to be that. And so go shoot the other things, and just know that, like, if something comes along that's right for filmic, for analog, for digital, digitized black and white, I want to be that. Um, and so I would say I really didn't know that I even needed, like, because I think there's a difference between wanting to direct and needing to direct.
Yes, for
And,
sure.
like, needing, it's hard to say that, right? In terms of, like, you still might not ever get the privilege. You still might not
Mhm.
ever get the opportunity. Uh, so wanting, yeah, shit, if something came along, but then that need of, like, nope, I've got to do this. Um, I actually co-directed a short with a friend who, I shot it and I asked my friend to come on and direct. It was actually Andrew Bonizelli's short, the first thing I did with him.
Okay.
It's a little short called Real Mature. And um, I didn't trust whether or not I could be the director I wanted to be, but I
Mhm.
knew that the cinematography of the story was not about pretty. It was not about, uh, we were able to be kind of antagonistic to imagery, and so it's not this incredibly well shot film. It was shot on a Blackmagic pocket camera, no budget. We were
Mhm.
scrounging around everything we had, and knowing that if I could bring my best friend on to co-direct, I would be able to focus on the directing of the film and not the directing of the talent. And then he got in there with the talent, and I was like, damn, that'd be kind of fun. That'd be kind of cool one day, right? Like one day
Right,
where I
right.
know that I've got the rest of this technical stuff in a position where I want it, that I can
Mhm.
play with talent that way. And Mel, I mean, you've seen it. So many indie directors, especially first time people who are given a chance, they haven't been prepared for that chance. I used to judge them really hard when we were in the film industry because what's
Mhm.
the entry level position on set? Being a director. And so often those guys walk on set and they think it's going to be, oh, I'm Fincher and I'm going to get 80 takes, or oh, I'm doing this, and
Yeah.
or I've got a visionary thing. It's called a Zolly. Come on,
Yeah.
and it's like you're doing so much to help those people out just to make a film passable,
Mhm.
decent, whatever. Um, that I didn't want that pressure on myself. So then we did Real Mature, and DJ and I had done a couple films together in this like co-directing capacity. Um, he was the director. That's how I always say it. But like I was getting to dip my toes into things that I didn't know were going to excite me as much as they did. So I would say 2017, 2018, I started directing more music videos, and directing
Mhm.
music videos is very much a DP job.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be a talent director. And so I would say by, end of 2018, it's like one day I'm going to direct this horror Western, and
Mhm.
it's going to be huge. And I've got three versions, I've got three pieces of the story. Marvel Cinematic Universe absolutely exists at that point. And so I'm like, what about this weird horror Western universe? And
Yeah.
how fucked can I make it? I've always loved seeing my friends succeed. And it was like, if this thing could blow up, I'd have everyone telling a different version of the story.
Right,
The
right.
buddy that loves vampires is doing that, and
Yeah, yeah.
it was just like, I started realizing even the way I talked about that project, I didn't want to be the only sole creator. And so I never lost sight of, even when I wanted to start directing, I never lost sight of like, this is with my people.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's funny, you're one of the tribes. I refer to it as like I've got like 6 film tribes. They're all homogenous in their own way. And then I tend to be this like DP through many of them.
Yeah.
And then for some of them, yeah, it's gaffing. But like when you're talking about people investing time into a big project for multiple years, if I'm involved, it's usually as a DP or director, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, I'd say 2018 is when I really settled in and was like, when the opportunity arises, I want to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Then so I heard the story a little bit at Amazing Fantasy Fest when you premiered, but what was the what was the process of discovering? I mean, you just mentioned Andrew, so you guys already knew each other.
Yep.
Discovering Rich Interior Lives and deciding that that was going to be the one. How did that all sort of come together?
I'll try not to make this one too long winded, but
Feel free. We got time.
cool. So I brought up the music part of things. I've always loved the idea of mixed medium art entering film. I think it enters short film very easily. Rarely does it get into the feature film. Yes, there's experimental, but like really talking about mixed medium.
Mhm.
So I had done this project that I was working on where I was making a synth wavelength like beat to a heart. So the heart made out of paper mache would
Mhm.
react to the synth wave.
Hmm.
And never really took it anywhere, but I was talking to some friends about it, and this guy goes, hey, my buddy at Fango just covered this author who did this mixed medium project. It's like postcards written as a suicide note, and you're listening to a band while you're reading them, and the front side postcards were all taken by a photographer that he hired. I was like, that sounds amazing. And I find out that it's compiled in a an evidence bag. And I was just like, holy shit, down to the physical media. This is
Yeah.
mixed medium at its best for me.
Yeah.
That writer, his name is Andrew Bonizelli. So I reached out on Facebook. I had just done a pretty experimental short with the other director I was talking about, DJ. And we were submitting it. We were starting to get some like, online blurb type press, nothing big. And so I sent something to Andrew and I was like, hey man, I'm a filmmaker. My buddy's a director. Saw your writing. Love this project. You said something about film in your article. I just want to send this to you. And we started talking, and I found out that Andrew was into heavy music and sports and film. And it is so rare when we find these people looking at you and me, in this way. It's such a freeing moment because loving film, you do have to be a nerd. But if you're into the other two, it's kind of hard to ever really accept that.
Yeah.
And so, and if you're into 2 out of the 3, it makes it weirder because you just the imposter syndrome's heavy. It's like,
Right.
am I this? Am I that? So Andrew and I just immediately hit it off about baseball and music. And I came to find out he wasn't horror facing as much as I was. Andrew was much more film facing. He loves good movies and he likes dark stuff. And so horror's there, but he really enjoys it, but it's not his main thing. So then he and I bonded over. I said to him, one day I want to work on a horror baseball movie. I think I'd like to direct it. I don't have an idea. I have stupid ideas, but I'm a terrible writer. And Andrew's like, that's so crazy you would say that. I have a thriller baseball novel that I want to, bring back to a script. And I was like, really? So I read it. And I was immediately hooked by the approach because I didn't feel like it was genre. I didn't think that it really sat in a specific genre. The more we started talking about it as a script, the more he started bringing it to life. Andrew's a fucking freak about scripts, dude. They come to life in like 3 days for him. He'll say like, oh, I'm going to write this over the next few weeks. And then it's there. And it's just like,
Yeah. Awesome.
God, dude. And it's usually first pass really, really good. And so he wrote this baseball crime thriller, and I had just worked with, I'm not going to say the names of the 2 people who were attached to this project, both big, very large names. And I'll just say they're both Johns. They literally are. And that is not a John Doe reference. One was like the dream to get. And it just so happened to be that I worked with him on a short. He was directing something for his girlfriend. And I was like, I keep hearing about letters of intent. I'm just going to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
This director took a Polaroid photo of me on set and wouldn't let me keep it. And I was like, this is kind of weird. You were an uncle on one of my favorite sitcoms growing up, and here you are taking a Polaroid of me. And so I was like, look, dude, I get this baseball role. It's I don't know if I'm ever going to get the money to make this period piece baseball thriller, but like if I did, there's a really short role at the beginning of the film that would be just such a great cameo for you. And he was like, yeah, I'd be into signing that letter of intent. And I was like, what? And so all of a sudden I'm talking to his agent. I don't know shit about how to direct, produce. I'm like, I just hear about these LOIs, and if I get one, I'm going to hand it to somebody and they're going to turn it into the lottery office. And there we go. I don't know. So things kind of fall through with the agent because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then this other John, an opportunity comes around to play on a Sunday softball league with some guys who play with actors. And there's this guy, and he had absolutely just didn't want anything to do with me. Like most of the guys on the team were actors, and I am just like, oh, I'm just hanging out, So there were those 2 people kind of kept this project alive for us. Like I said, it's a period piece. I don't know how the fuck we're ever gonna do it. Last year, Andrew did a rewrite on it, and it got on Blacklist and got a pretty good score. So again, there's always something that keeps this one big one alive. But Andrew and I started talking about that project immediately. And then Real Mature is the short that I mentioned earlier. I was just like, man, we can make this. This is attainable. We've got the people. Let's pull it together. Andrew came out to LA. And I think from there, I just kind of knew like, I'm never going to really call myself a writer. Even if I write something in the future, I edited Rich Interior Lives, and someone was like, well, why didn't you put yourself as the editor? It's like, I'm the director. Like, I see a reason. I see the reason to, and it's like, but really this part of it came together from the director. Like, Andrew and Manny gave a lot of input, but like the editing was directed by me as well. And like there's so many things that I touched that I just felt like, okay, I don't need a credit for that. I'm not a writer. If I'm contributing to the story, it's because of how I think it comes to life visually. And that includes how the actors play it out. But anyways, I long story, like Andrew and I have been just dying to work together. So, we just kept doing it. We started with that short. We tried to get some, feature action going. And then we started doing music videos, both of us having a music background. It just kind of made sense. And as we started doing music videos, Manny came into the fold, and then there was just the three of us, and we were in a good groove. Manny had expressed that he kind of wanted to learn from my cinematography, so it was cool because I was kind of creating a clone version of myself.
You're right, right.
Totally different DP and a totally different human, but it's like, hey, I want to light this way. I want to push this way. I want to do this. And so he started finding that, and then started finding his own voice inside of the work that I had kind of led him into. And that was cool too, because it's like the baby bird has flown the nest. Like this dude was his own artist in his mind, but to see him finally be able to, take stride through my style was like, again, had nothing to do with me. It just had to do with the fact that he was working within my style during that time.
Yeah.
So then 2020 hits. I get greenlit in the end of 2019 for an experimental biopic shot on film. We were going to be shooting on 16, had almost $1 million budget, and now I'm directing, right? So I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. DP career was really good financially at that point. And then 2020 hits and everything's locked up. And I spent more time with this production company who were greenlighting my film.
Mm-hmm.
I did a couple side projects with them that made me realize they were not who they claimed to be. And I'd known them for a couple years, but like, when safety comes to a priority the way it was in 2020, I started seeing these folks as a little differently than the people that were going to fund my film. So at that same time, my wife and I were talking about getting out of LA, and I didn't throw this opportunity away. I made the right choice in stepping away from people who were not making film in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And Andrew was like, dude, you need to do something. And he's right, because I spent the previous 6 months preparing to make a film. It's so I felt it, dude. I was ready to move with actors. I was ready for that opportunity to get in and experience it. One thing you never do when you're behind the camera is you don't really experience the live energy on set. Maybe like a little bit in Steadicam or something, but a director has to be tuned into that, and you have to be, as a DP, tuned into so many other things technically.
Right.
I used to do improv, and so I was now excited about this idea of like being with the actors and feeling their energy and being able to give them, feedback and constructive criticism, but also like, where were you trying to take that? What can I do to build you up to get you to that? Something that I've loved doing in the framing and the blocking, right?
Yeah.
But then once picture's up, I shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's it. So Andrew kind of encouraged me, and then me, Andrew, and Manny just we started selling bottle caps and semen, and
as you do.
No, we spent the next year trying to figure out how we'd fund it. And it was cool. There was a point, I remember one of the coolest points was I was unsure because I knew what it took to make a decent movie with no money. And I had two people who did not know that as well as I did. And they were like, we can do this. And then they were like, well, maybe we should do a short. And it was like, the short was like, no, we're not I'm not doing again. I don't need a fucking short. I've got those. I've done those. They're great. They're awesome. If your story actually fits that modality, please go do it. But like, I think, another opportunity for Manny to get more time with camera was appealing to him. Yeah. I was like, well, yeah, but what about getting time with camera in a meaningful way? What's it going to take for us to, are we going to spend $8,000 to $10,000 on a short that has no opportunity? Or can we get this to 20, 30, 40, the goal was 50.
Yeah.
We didn't get there. But, that was the hope. Right. And so, that's what got us to Rich Interior Lives.
I don't normally do this, but you gotta have at least one vice, right? Unfortunately for me, I have more than one.
Everyone, a toast to this man, Colton Eugene Wayne, for saving my life.
I'd be eating through a straw if he wasn't there.
I've never even seen him jog.
Your man here was all-county varsity halfback. Could have gone Division I, maybe even pro.
Any mere mortal who dated Gloria Howman should feel free to live in the past.
You broke up with her?
I don't mean to pry. What exactly do you know about your fiance?
What I have in store for you is going to blow your mind.
When did you guys actually begin production on that?
So we began physical production in the fall of 2022. I say we began pre-production in December of 2020. We began funding, like fundraising, in 2020, December of 2020, and then throughout 2021 we began pre-pro. I would say January 2022 is when we felt confident enough to actually do this with resources we were kind of like pulling together. And we quickly cast. Once we felt good about what we had, we were like, let's lock down the cast, because I had a goal of getting 6 months time through Zoom before we went and started shooting.
Yeah.
We were either going to be shooting in Philly or shooting in potentially shooting in Portland. And we did a proof of concept that basically functioned as a short for another feature in those years. And I think half of it, there's one night that I directed remotely. It was like two characters sitting on a couch, and I was like, we could do this.
Yeah.
We in fact could not do that. No, it was fun. But this little proof of concept for this feature, it was cool, but it had its limitations. And so I just knew how important time with the actors was going to be for me more than for them, because I didn't want to be on set with them stuck in a moment and not know how to get out of it. Like,
Right.
Mel, I've never had a question. I have not walked onto a set since probably before 2015 and felt like, am I going to be able to get through the day? As a DP, yep, we're going to overcome that. Yep, we're going to overcome that. Oh, gaffing, keep ripping, we're going to overcome. That's going to be over, But what about if the actor says, is this coming off right?
Right.
I don't know. I'm an idiot. Give me a wrench, I guess. It's time for me to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so, as much as I thought it was about for me, what it became was 250 hours logged into Zoom, 6 months ahead of Rich Interior Live's principal filming, to get the actors right and dialed in. And that was incredibly necessary when we lost about half of our budget before shooting.
Yeah.
And a lot of our days turned into 16 and 18 page days.
Yeah. I can relate to all of that, but you know what I mean? Like I having seen the film, saw it at Amazing Fantasy Fest, and then I've watched a couple times on Tubi, actually.
Awesome.
All that time, all that work ahead of time, getting them rehearsed and running through. I mean, it really, I thought this the first time I saw it. I'm like, it just really pays off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost, you can't, it's hard to explain to somebody that hasn't been through it, but there's an intangible like realness to everything because you tell everybody's locked in and on the same wavelength. And I don't often, I mean, there are movies that I like that don't have that, you know what I mean? But, but when that's there, it takes it to another level. So yeah, it really is impressive what you did with the film. And like, it was my favorite movie that I saw that year. Like that was the year that not Mystery Spot, In Betweening premiered at Amazing Fantasy Fest. And I just remember when I got home, I was like, dude, I couldn't have been with a better lineup of stuff. You know what I mean?
Dude, and I mean, that part felt so special to me, right? To be able to, like, you and I, our films are playing at the same time at a festival.
Yeah.
It's like, that was awesome. And I hadn't experienced anything like that yet. That was cool, because so many of the festivals I've gone to, it's been me going by myself, trying to build these relationships you hear are so valuable. And it's like, wow, like people are just busy the whole time. Like, how do you, you want to watch the movies? It's like, and so it was really, that was a cool one, because I knew Andrew was going to be able to make it out.
Yeah.
But I just like, this is so sick to have our films right here back to back. You know, even like down to the award ceremony, like so fucking sick that we were able to share that stage in that way too. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that remind me, was that your premiere? I don't
no,
remember.
we premiered at International Horror Fest, which is in
Okay,
Cleveland.
that's right. Yeah, okay.
It's cool. It was you know, it's one of like, again, some of the smaller festivals, it's hard to find those connection points. And then like some of the other festivals, you go to a bigger festival, and it's like it's hard not to just go to party. You know, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard not to just get caught up in like, oh, I'm just going to the next
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, the fest vibe, yeah.
Right.
So, going back to the casting process, how long did it take you to find your people?
Okay, so I am disclaimer, big into energy, frequency, very open to everything.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I am very generalized agnostic, right?
Yeah.
But I will say so much of my film career has been one of those things that just consistently reminds me, if it is all just energy, your influence on it matters. And
Mhm.
so Parker Shook is one of my closest friends that I met in LA. An actor who, when I met him, I was just like, this guy's never gonna do much to shock people. He's gonna go in and be an everyday dude. And I care about him so much that I'm gonna be the
Yeah.
person that lets him know that.
Yeah.
So when he would tell me that Tom Hanks was his favorite actor and, you know, generic movies were his thing, I was just like, you're boring. I hate the kind of actor you want to be. I love you as a person, love you as a Midwest dude that enjoys sports and will go sit with me at a bar and have a drink. But like, dude, your taste in film sucks. And so I try and get him to watch things like Eraserhead, and he would just be like, so boring. And then when it wasn't boring, it was just weird. And I look at,
Yeah.
you know, quotes like that, and I'm like, you could say something like that about Rich Interior Lives.
Yeah.
You know? So Parker's just been one of those people that he's been in stuff that I've done because he's a homie, and
Yeah.
you know, I think he's pretty good most of the time. But I also saw him as a very like cast type actor, I guess is what I wanted to get to. Keela we had worked with, and she starred in Real Mature. So I'm going to go through the names and then kind of talk about the casting process.
Sure.
Teresa is from Philly, and so we had worked with her on a couple of the projects that we did in Philly. So 10 Seconds to Comply, our production company, is based out of Detroit and Philadelphia, with Andrew and Manny being in Philly and me being in Detroit. And so Teresa's from Philly, and she was fucking awesome in this music video we did. And she told me how she was working on improv. And so when we started talking about things, Andrew was like, oh, she wants to audition. And I was just like, cool. She's awesome. And I've seen her work, but like, we're making a feature. We need actors. Like this is, I'm saying the same thing about Parker. I'm saying,
Right.
my closest friends who was in my wedding party is not good enough in my mind, you know?
Yeah.
And then, which is not the truth, right? Like I need to say to all of my talent, all four of you are fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
we're in the future. They're in the movie. It worked out.
yeah, exactly. And so Greg and I had met on a short, right around the time that Andrew and I were working on Brushback. So Greg was like, when I was just starting out as a DP, and we ended up getting to talk about baseball on set. And then Greg and I just become baseball buddies. And it's like, okay, so at some point, if Brushback ever gets off, Greg's going to be on the table. And then there's probably 10 other great, talented friends of mine who were all in the same caliber of like, they're not going to be difficult to work with in a on location situation.
Yeah.
They're going to understand the indie nature of these things. You know, I think everything's going to be as good as it can be with this pool of people. And then there was that, like, wouldn't it be nice? Right. And so we ended up getting to share our pitch deck with a few people. And so the pitch deck, we ended up like then, you know, targeting the 4 talent is totally different names.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of close people in my network who I think in my mind they were the right people for the job, but I was like, I just can't put myself out there as that guy. Like they've known me as a DP or a gaffer, and I do not want to embarrass myself as a director, not being able to give them the thing that they need. And that's completely fair that they need those things, right? Whatever it is, money, fucking accommodations, whatever.
Yeah.
But also, you know, talking about that, I think it's interesting. to break out here for you because your listening audience has known so many things that you've worked on, both like in your work, but then the work you've created.
Yeah.
The difference between a $20,000 to $50,000 feature to a $300,000 to $600,000 feature
Yeah.
is not an independent film anymore, right? It is, because then saying a $600,000 film to a $5 million movie,
Right.
yeah, of course it's indie there. But at that point, you've started to get into the right number of crew.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe they're not the most talented crew, right? You started to get into the right talent that sells a movie. Maybe they're not the most talented.
Right.
Maybe they're not the most professional, And so when you get back to that like 30,000 area, what you're working with is usually a couple people that are super professionally talented, some that have no experience. Definitely not enough people to do all the jobs needed to do on set. And so you're going to get into tension. You're going to create tension. You're going to fabricate it. You're going to believe it's there. That's not there. Like everything is going to come to the surface.
Yeah.
My peers, people that I respected, you being one of them, I had witnessed what it does to a director going into set. And I was like, fuck, man, what if I'm starting to have mine? What if my version of that is with X on set?
Right.
And now X is like, fucking Ken was always crazy. And it just took me, watching. So something irrational about that sucks, and it's there. And I'm glad I recognized it and didn't try and overcast.
Right.
But, Andrew and Manny, they were kind of like places of rationale for me when we were talking about casting, because I'd be like, this person's really great. And I think we could do this with them. And they were like, oh, well, that person, you're putting that person over Parker. And so it just kept coming back. Like for the lead, they were like, no, it's Parker. And they're like, you know him best. They were like, if you don't think he can, I was like, it's not that I don't think he can do it. It's that I'm worried what it will do for the others, because I feel like I need someone that's like truly antagonizing, in a way that I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get it, It's just he's not mean spirited. He's not ultra conservative, right? Whatever the film calls cult. But it's like, that was again, one of the benefits of the long Zoom hours was we were able to watch where he was going. And I do want to go back to the Zoom hours real quick, because one thing that we never really get to talk much about with this film is that, the Zoom hours almost function like play hours. Parker comes from theater, and it's like he'd always be waiting for like the third or fourth pass of a scene that we were testing in Zoom, because that's where he could start to play with it. And so it's almost like sometimes he'd go too big, but he never really went too big in the auditions, but he'd go too small all the time. It's like, come on, give us more.
Right.
And that was when Andrew and Manny would be like, oh yeah, he can do it.
Yeah.
So as we would play with it like a play or a stage play, that's when Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf really became like a big reference point for us. Andrew had it as the writing. And for me, there's so much good mumblecore that came out in 2008 to 2014 that I knew we were chasing mumblecore, but mumblecore had become kind of played out to me. I don't need a bunch of characters talking about their trauma to then reveal the trauma at the end of the film. And I was like, what if you could have characters talking about their trauma and befuddle it enough that if you jump the shark, it's totally worth having sets or bullshit,
Right.
And that's what we were going to be dealing with. We weren't going to be able to make some crazy blood fest at that price. We weren't going to be able to, all the things that I might have wanted to do or they want to do in a different direction. We knew what we were limited to. So when it came back to the casting, there was one person for Dana's role that I was like, something tells me she's going to do the most damage on set in a way really cool for the film. And then every time we looked at Keela's tape, it was like, we know Keela, and she's going to do a totally different type of damage on this. And it was awesome. Cause you know what it's like when you cut camera. People don't always just stay in the character. Some do. It does not become playtime when we cut.
Right.
For Keela, it became playtime. So nobody ever felt as threatened by her on set as they did by her character. And it was such a cool thing, because then she kept the energy. The energy I was looking to cast in Parker, she ended up giving, in a way that once we knew those two, it's like, yep, I was pretty sure that Teresa was going to play Mary for a while, but once I saw the dynamic between her and Keela, and I think it's best at the door, right? When Keela's talking about, a barrel of blank slates. And, Teresa just gives this face that's just like, what the hell does that mean? But you're criticizing me to my face. Like,
Right.
It's just such a moment of like, yep, we filmed that real early on. And I was like, I've known it because we've done it 250 hours, but yeah, this is going to go really well. Like,
yeah.
this is going to be
it's that moment where you see it all coming together,
Yep.
Yeah. And I really feel like it's definitely one of those movies where you obviously are working within limitations, but I never thought of it and I knew that going into it, but it never even occurred to me, which says a lot, because I'm more focused just on what's like, I never thought, oh, well, they're in this house and it's just 4 people, or never even came up, because it's written and directed so well, I think.
Love that.
And I was into it.
Yeah.
So what did you, after Amazing Fantasy Fest, remind me what your screening schedule was after that?
We had 3 film festivals, all happened between August and October. And one of them, remember, this is post-COVID, right?
Yeah.
So this is not judgment towards film festivals, but like one of them had decided it was going to be an online screener, and that online screener would be open for 1 week from the night that it was supposed to air up until the festival closed.
Yeah.
And then we had another that was told us that our film would play the same weekend as Amazing Fantasy Fest, but it ended up playing 2 weeks later in the city that it was in. And so without being weird to those two, we didn't really know what was going on. So we went to Cleveland for International Horror, and like, I would say half the experience was really cool. Half the experience was, kind of what you get in some of these in these things.
Yeah.
It's not a diss on them. It's a statement of just like what it's like when you're producing a festival of that size with,
Right.
it was like nothing really came out of this for us. Like, we didn't really get to talk to anybody. And of course that's our own expectations opposed to that as well. So,
Yeah.
So in total, we played 9 festivals and we were at 4 of them. The festival thing was fine. We won Best Picture at 2. With, we kind of knew like, it's not what we're, it's not what we're striving to put on the laurels.
Right.
Amazing Fantasy Fest was awesome because Parker was able to take home Best Actor. And
Right.
that was so shocking to all of us. Like, we hear it all the time when people would watch the movie. It was like, that guy killed it. And it's like, yeah, and if you knew him, to know that he's nothing like this character, but at the same time delivered such a similar thing to what he does when it feels like the everyday man of that character, like he just, it's never too, because he could have played up this crazy preacher. He could have been really over the top, know, it was always subtle enough that it actually really does help the film.
And it's like a creeping, growing thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it never, I don't know how much we want to give away. I'm going to sort of dance around it,
Yeah.
Even though I noticed on Tubi, I was like, why would it say that in the description?
Dude.
So if you go watch the movie on Tubi, just watch the movie. Don't look at the description, because it kind of, I think it takes some of the fun out of it. But
yeah,
when that happens and it kind of goes into a darker place, it is not diametrically opposed to what he has been the whole time. It just is sort of growing out of what he's been doing, and that's what I think that's one of my favorite things about his performance, is that it's organic. It stays with, I was thinking about it, I was like, like, but in a good, but also he's not necessarily the bad guy necessarily, which also makes it interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I love that you brought that up, and I want to just piggyback there real quick, because if I never get the chance to call it out, and right here it said, for anyone that wants to know it, all 4 of these people are a representation of, and what better time? I know you'll release this after, but we've just recently celebrated the 4th, and we just recently celebrated 250 years, which is nothing in the actual scope of history, but this wonderful country that we live in. There's so much opportunity to go both directions.
Yeah.
And when Andrew had first written Rich Interior Lives, it was not called Rich Interior Lives. It was a really dark piece. And I think it's still dark, but it was really dark. And so much of it took place at that dinner table. So I'm very happy with where the one we ended up filming compared to where he'd started. But one thing that came to life as I got more my hands on it was embracing the political religious elements and making sure that we didn't overdo them, because even the folks that are actually exist in these places, they don't necessarily overdo it at everything. Right.
Right.
And so all four of these are the worst versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a hero in this film. And that's a big part of what we're toying with, an intentionality. So, you know, I like to see where people sit. I remember, coming out of Ninja Turtles as a kid and deciding which turtle I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always tough for me. I'm like, I'm between Mikey and Raph. Like, usually I'm never Raph, but like sometimes my anger scares people. It doesn't know, no one knows where it comes from. For the most part, I just want to party.
Yeah.
And so I've always loved when a movie, like, I love the, golden era of cinema that allowed us to look at character actors and really dive deep into some of that stuff. But being able to look at four people and say, who do you jive with? Like who is, and it's like, so I don't even usually have to ask the question. It's almost immediately like, I hated that one guy. He's so creepy. It's like, perfect. Because he's not your creep. Normally we would make, if in film, we would then, okay, I need to over creep him. Yeah, of course, the glasses were a choice, right? Of course I went with as dumb or close as possible.
Right.
But yeah, when it comes to some of the themes that we deal with in the film too, it's just, given the choice, you could make the decision either way. And for the most part, as people were divided into what we become, we're one ideology, we're one political thing, we're one religion, we're one this, we're one that. And that's great when you're in tribal mode, trying to come together as a society.
Yeah.
The only reason I feel the need, I talked about the want and the need, the only reason to go from being a DP to needing to be a director is I believe that some people are not telling, there are not enough stories being told from the perspective that I want to tell it, which is we're all pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you can be honest about your character. And I, there's one character that when they go through their honesty in the moment, it gets us to a culmination. It gets us to a point.
Yeah.
And I think that that's super valuable for us as a people, as we continue to grow, as we, integrate AI into decision making, right? Like, we need to know that, like, human nature has been the thing that's kept us alive, but it's also the first thing that becomes territorial and warlike when you don't agree with somebody. And it's like, can four people agree? I don't know about that. But I like the idea of, like, seeing what are their worst versions of themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what spoke to me, about the film as well. Because I don't think that you see enough of that approach. It's always a little bit too cut and dried versus my experience out in the world,
Someone's got to be the hero.
Of course.
Today?
Of course.
Do they have to be the hero today?
Yeah.
Can we see what happens if no one's the hero for one day?
Yeah. So with that said, based like the festivals you were able to go to, or even not, maybe you heard about it later, what was the response like to the film, like just from the audience?
Yeah. The one we had a couple observations, and I think not audience based, but the one thing we kept hearing was, I don't know what to call your film.
Yeah.
First off, biggest compliment I can get, if you mean in genre, because I didn't want it to be a genre film. I wanted it to be able to be more than that. But like, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, there was one person said they felt the sense of ending, but they didn't feel like they got the closure they needed. And it's like, okay, well, we've all felt that in a movie before. Why does that matter with ours? Why do you care? And I think the theme, the way people kept saying this, I don't know what I understood it, but I don't know what it is. It's like, good. That is the message. Again, that's the pouring of this situation is hopefully, hopefully you go back and watch it. Hopefully
Yeah.
we watch it a second and third time. Like, I do know that there is enough packed in there that it can be enjoyable. If you can watch it one time, you can watch it a second time.
Yeah. And that's such a better response than, it was all right.
Right.
Like that's kind of what you want, and again, it speaks to like that year being there with my movie back there.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, perfect. Like, yes, this is what we should be doing,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of things. It's all the things. It's everything, it's, yeah. So anyway, great job is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So a lot of the feedback we got, just, it felt like, when will this get out there? Because another thing is, the festival, like, Amazing Fantasy Fest did a good job of it, but we still struggled with it there, and Greg recognized it.
Yeah.
Most of the time your film's not playing in the best conditions.
Yeah.
The first time that Real Mature played, the first thing that Andrew and I did, it played in a festival in Florida, and I was from Florida, so I was like, I'm not from Florida. I lived in Florida for a while. Let me be clear, I'm not from Florida. Lived in Florida for a while. And so I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. We'll go down there. And I go down there. The festival director, he and I stayed buddies for the last 12 plus years. Just absolutely loved having our film there. Our film, Parker was a background character in it. Keela's the lead of it. But Adrienne Barbeau is the narrator of that film as the mother of the main character. And the audio was so low. We couldn't hear it. You just couldn't hear the film in the theater.
Wow.
And it was like, does this happen at festivals a lot? Yes, it does. So then I'm at another festival and it's happening again. It's like, oh my God. And like I said, Amazing did a great job with it, but they had some technical issues that weekend. And so that's the other part, is like, so much of this movie is heavy talking. Are you comfortable enough to, right? Like, of course I want a theatrical release, right? But like, I'm actually pretty stoked about it being on Tubi, because you get to watch it within the comfort of your home. One of my coworkers checked it out this week and he was like, yeah, stopped in the middle to go fold some laundry. He's like, I was actually stoked when I came back. I was like, oh, so I should give you an intermission, right?
Yeah.
And it was cool to, like, he thought about what the characters were saying and came back, and it enhanced the second half of the movie for him. A narcissistic perspective of that as a director could be, fuck, he left the middle of the movie, right? It's like, no, he had the ability to walk away. That's where I was going with, whether or not we have enough of these stories. We're oversaturated with films right now. And more diversity in the budget, because you just, anyone can put it out. Anyone can try and get their thing out there. And so there's just a lot of slop out there too.
Mm-hmm.
And, the feedback's the cool part. I'm really stoked to have feedback from my community right now. We've just started trying to get some press on it too. So we're trying to figure out all those things, but like, it's obviously not about what I want to say about the film anymore, right? It's about like, what is it doing? And the festival circuit was a sign, like a weird sign of hope. I think you'd probably pick up on something like this, where it's like, oh, you're not saying my film's bad, but what is it? The one that played it the same weekend as Amazing, and then played it 2 weeks later, when they sent us our award, it was like best feature, and it was just like, oh, thanks, but it was just a certificate. And when you looked at their website, they had like categories, but it's like, our certificate doesn't say what category, so it's not overall best feature. But I don't even know if they saw it as a thriller or if they saw it as a horror. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the effort you did there, guy. Like, and I get it. That guy's got, 400 submissions, and he's screening 30 films over the course of 8 days. Like, I understand the challenge, but as a filmmaker, I'm just left like, well, it doesn't say SXSW feature, right? It's like,
totally.
Some festival put it in there, and we got to know, So I don't have a great space of feedback there. But that led us into trying to sell the film, and it persisted there, where the conversations we had, people were just like, first off, I hate starting it this way, but you got no names. It's like, yep, we know. Mm-hmm. We left 2 cameo spots. One was going to be for Pastor Bob, and one was going to be for Gloria Howman. And the further we went, the longer we went, the more we just got to a point where it's like, so we'd have these conversations and they'd start with, oh, no names, but I really like the movie. I don't know how to describe it. And then the other thing we always heard was, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it without giving away what you do so preciously to hold on to. And it was like, yeah, we know. So we had a couple potential deals that none of them just panned out the right way.
Yeah.
And then we were able to get onto Tubi. Here we are.
Is that currently the only place it's available?
Yeah, it's through Film Hub, so it's available on Film Hub's Relay page, but
Okay, got it.
I don't know who knows or uses that. I'm sure everybody does, right? Film Hub?
Yeah. And I get so annoyed when people ask me this, but I always have to ask. I guess but so having done that, having gotten it out there in the world now, what's next?
Mel, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I would probably normally be annoyed, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we have a couple, as 10 seconds to comply, we have a couple features that we wanted to get going. Of course, it all comes down to budget and which way we will go. And that's another challenge too, right? Is it felt like 8 years ago, you kind of knew like, oh, have a couple options and, be ready to show whatever. Now it's like, sometimes I'm talking to somebody like, no, we just want you to have one thing that you care about. It's like, yeah, okay, it's a baseball movie. You got 10 million for a 1960s period piece. Oh no, So we as 10 Seconds to Comply are going to continue to make music videos. We're shooting one in August for Relapse Records for
Nice.
Keening. And awesome plug out to Rebecca and the Keening. They're a very, very cool heavy band. So we're shooting that in August. That should have a release in September. And like I mentioned, Andrew put a couple things through Blacklist this year and got some pretty positive feedback. So we've got kind of two scripts that were like, these are the two that we would push if we had something. And then for myself, I am working on a feature that's going to involve a lot of miniatures. And so I've just been slowly building that little world out. And getting some stuff in the can for it, but I probably won't try and touch that project until 27.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that the film is available on Tubi.
Yep.
Relay. If people want to find you guys, 10 Seconds to Comply, where can they find you?
10 Seconds to Comply Instagram is just, I think it's the number 10 Seconds to Comply. The website is spelled out that way. So it's 10 seconds to comply, all words.com.
And it's the RoboCop hand with the note.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's why I was like, oh, these are my people. I don't even need to meet Andrew, but I know he's cool.
That was one of the fun things was we trying to come together. Manny's one of those people that like he loves imagery. He enjoys some movies, but if you ask him what his favorite movie is, he's like, I don't know. And it's like filmmakers, we're not like that,
Yeah.
And as a DP, he hasn't spent any time in like a film city. He's cut his teeth in Philly. And so it's like he doesn't have to go through that. But like I remember when I got to LA, I was like, I got a million favorite films. What are you talking about? People like, you have to have one. Like you have to tell me what you're. And so anyways, Andrew was like, don't worry, Manny's a big RoboCop fan. We'll get away with this one.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's great that's all you need to know.
Yep.
But I totally get it. Well, cool, man. It was great having you on, and I'm glad we got to talk because like I said, I really do love the film. It's probably one of my favorite films I've seen in the last few years. So
I appreciate it. I want to get this on there, and I know that you're going to try and cut it, but I'm saying this in hopes that you don't cut it. Dude, thank you for everything. You're one of those absolutely crucial cornerstones in my career, and specifically in belief and empowerment. You have always been there for me, and you've always given me a chance to create alongside you. And dude, I couldn't have in my opinion, my close network, I couldn't have better artists in it, and you were one of them. And it means a lot that again that we were able to play our films together, but for you to be able to have me here and voice this way, it matters a lot to me. So thank you.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll leave it in. Yeah, I don't even think we mentioned that you shot Mystery Spot. I don't think we talked.
Yeah.
Or we went, but yeah, Ken was the DP on Mystery Spot, and I don't even remember how we started that conference. I think when it started coming together, I think you just said, "Hey, can I shoot?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." I was something like that. Like I already knew that you were going to bring it, you know?
Yeah.
So, just from having worked with you on other stuff and just knowing, what you're capable of. So, and it couldn't have asked for a better, you know, at least that everybody knows we've talked about it, but at least that part of the experience was great.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, thanks. And, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to wrap it up, but we're going to keep going. There's a couple of things I'll share with you after. That's not for the public consumption yet.
Awesome.
But that, yeah, it's everybody go out and watch Rich Interior Lives, available on Tubi. Highly recommended, and support 10 Seconds to Comply and see, you know, keep an eye on what they got coming up.